So actually, this is what you see right now is, I mean, what I talked about last year, and I decided I don't want to repeat myself. If you see this on YouTube, there's the link probably in the description from the last year's talk. So I'm not going to talk about the Fed client here. I'm going to talk about something completely new that that we worked on and that we also discussed. So I thought, you know, this web service, I mean, I guess they don't need the logo anymore. So let's just change this to a new one. And that's basically the nickname of the project. It's called Cloud Converter, because what OpenChrom can do, maybe not everybody needs it in a chromatography client, and maybe not everybody wants to use OpenChrom, but they still have we have a shared common problem, which is the file format conversion. So we will strip it down to that, and I do some explanations beforehand, because when we did some talks about this with potential customers, there were some confusions. So this is the way how we do it. What we have an API. So it's basically like an ontology, but it's written in source code. And it's also part of the Eclipse Foundation, which is a software foundation. It's pre-competitive. It's similar to Allotrope, but it's focused on software, not ontologies. And it's basically, it's publicly available. You can look at it, and you can see there's a definition for a chromatogram, and a chromatogram has scans, which, for example, for an MS chromatogram, it could be mass spectra. It has a file. It also has some stuff like, it basically has some methods to it, and of course it also has peaks, something that you expect here. And what we actually offer to our customers is that we map everything to this API. Everything gets connected to this. So whenever you talk about mapping or so, we think that's our job. We do the mapping for you, and that's how we deal with it. And you can also see there are more chromatograms here, and it's per detector basically. So MSD, I mean, it's like the brand name for Agilent mass spectrometric detectors. So it's about ions in here, and CSD is our way of saying what Allotrope calls basically chromatogram. So the GCFID chromatogram, and WSD would be HPLC DAD. So we were trying really hard to keep on the schema here. So might be a bit confusing at first, but it's about wavelength. It's about spectral data. It's about PDA and DAD data. So that's basically a crash course into how OpenChrom actually works. And what we might also look at, actually, how do these converters work? Everything in OpenChrom is a plugin. So naturally, the converter plug is also a plugin. So in this case, I picked the Allotrope data format plugin that we have. I mean, it has a file extension. It has the magic number matcher because it's a proper file format. It identifies itself. And you can see it has an import converter and an export converter. And then it also says it can export and it can import. It can do both. To be fair, most of our converters are purely import converters. We only read the raw data from the vendor file format, but this is an exception. You can also write ADF files. So usually we keep it that way because you should not write your raw data. There may be exceptions to it, and you can come to us and we can find the solutions, but usually you want to write into the proper formats. So let's come to what I announced first, like the cloud converter, the new product that is actually, let's say, a rearrangement of the product. It's the OpenChrom remote service, and what it does when you start it up, I mean, it talks via the basically it chats to you. It says lots of stuff has been registered to it, like all the file formats, all the converter it knows about. And then it will also do, because this is an enterprise Java product, so it will also do self-describing an endpoint description, basically. So it says something about it here, that something is available and something is listening. And I also already started it. Yeah. And let's actually have a look at it. what it does, I mean, it says status and converters, and we can see it puts out basically a JSON file like we are used to with the allotrope simple model. And in this case, it spits out converter IDs and descriptions of it. And so we can see it has lots of vendor support. I mean, Shimatsu is, of course, here. They are a very important vendor. They're also very simple files, like this one is just a text file, so maybe this doesn't really count. And of course, Edgeland, Thermo, they're all here, and these are all available. And of course, when we go here, when we search for the allotrope ones, we can also see, okay, some allotrope converters registered here. So maybe to do, as this has a bit of a marketing thingy, there's also the question, but how many converters are there? And I mean, here it says 140. And then there's also the question, is that much or is that not much? So maybe take it with a grain of salt, because on the one hand, there are also these text formats here or these XML-based formats, which are rather simple to implement. And then there are also these vendor formats, which, I mean, they are per detector, and they're also per instrument series. So what we try to catch multiple birds with one stone. So this doesn't really translate to model series and variations. So, I mean, you could probably multiply this by how many instruments these file formats support. But I mean, the most important question is probably, do we support your file format? And I say it already, if we don't already, then you can come and talk to us, and we can find a way to make it work, because everything that you see here connects to the API. So everything is available for ASM. I only have to write a converter once. It automatically scales in a way. And let's actually let's do something scary. I put up the Linux console, which is a cliche, I guess. It's a command line interface. I'm typing commands in here, and I already prepared one, like a good TV cook. So I'll briefly talk you through it. So it starts with the command, which is curl or curl, which is basically, it's a program that downloads stuff on Unix systems. And in this case, it also has a command post. So it also requests some data, and we have to input something. So there's an input URL in this case, where I simply put an Edgeland MS data format, so a GCMS file. And then I also need to specify what format. I mean, there are many to choose from. So in this case, of course, I'm at an allotrope meeting, so I pick the ASM format. I know you really like it. And also JSON really fits into this headless web service scheme. And it also reminds me a bit of the Web 2.0 era, which is why I had to do this legacy logo here. Okay, but let's fire it up. I'm also telling it, go to the service, which is running on my local host, and I'm piping this into a file so it doesn't clutter my screen that I just download it. So we do it, and you can see it's actually pretty quick. And do I have it already open here? We see we already created our ASM. So it was just, and let's format this document so you can see it more clearly. So it's what you all know and love, your, in this case, our GCMS model, which is with the MS data cube. So this works really well. And why am I showing this? Maybe to give you an idea. You don't have to use this command. You can also do this on Windows with PowerShell. You can actually do this with almost everything. So you can put this into your scripts, into your macros, into your existing software solutions that you love. So you don't have to use OpenChrom. That's what I mean. And I want to also show there's no user interface. So it's completely headless, and it's nice to automate. And now you suffered enough. I will show something else now. I mean, it's a web service. So why don't we use a web browser, which probably makes more sense. So we see the same example again. I'm just using a website. I press the button, and I download the JSON file, which is the ASM file. In this case, I can also switch to other file formats that I want. Of course, I want my allotrope formats. And I can also show you, I mean, we are an open source company, so I show you the source code of this website. I'm a web designer, so this is rather simple. It's actually doing the same thing. It's doing this same action. It's doing the post that you saw in the command. It's doing the same file import, and it's just a nice drop-down box for these identifiers that you tell. It's a reverse DNS basically. I try to be consistent here so these somehow makes some sense. And actually, I'm now showing a lot of GCMS stuff, and Bio-Rad is hosting this, so maybe that's unfair. So I also prepared something with PCR. Sadly, this is a Roche Light Cycler format. I'm sorry, our customer had Roche systems, and so we did those. So let's do it. And we can also create our ASM JSON files. So, and of course, if you remember these strange, what I told you, CSD is basically like the GCFID stuff. Again, an Edgeland format. Bang, let's create another JSON format. And of course, oh, this is the wrong one. I mean, of course, we support legacy XML file formats. Like if you want to migrate your stuff to current allotrope standards, you can also do this. This is actually converting an ADF that is supplied by Edgeland. It's an example file, and let's convert that to ASM because there are also occasions for this. We're actually also using this internally. Like we also did a web viewer prototype, and we wanted to use a JSON as an intermediate file format. And why should we invent our own file format when there's already an ASM for it? So of course we went for that, and we eat our own dog food. That's what I'm saying, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So okay, this is all nice, and okay, this is running on my computer. So it's the typical, the developer says, yes, it works on my machine, but that's not enough. You can already see the Docker logo here. So I also put this into a container, and this is actually really helpful. I can start this up with a press of a button here, and putting this into a container, you can see it starts up rather quickly. And let's scroll up a bit. There it says the stuff that's getting loaded. So actually this even helped within OpenChrom, because while I created this converter thingy, I'm not an orchestration expert. I'm not a web expert. So I gave this to somebody, and he knows Docker, I know Docker, so we had a connection point there. I could just hand him this off, and he already knew what to do and how to set this up. So I will also show that, because we also thought about an example on AWS, which seems to be when we talk to customers, it seems to be the favorite platform really that most used. But remember, this is running on Docker, so if you can also run this on in the Google Cloud. They can also run Docker, or if you want to do it on premise. We have a lot of German customers who are not really happy with the current way the US cloud is policed. So we can also run this on premise, so no problem. So how does this do? It's I show this one first. There's a Lambda function, and what this does is actually it looks at this S3 bucket as this simple storage solution, looks for a change in the file system, and then triggers something. And we will just do this. And I put this into convert to. I choose ASM. It's just a simple example here. And so I zip this up, compress it, because this is it's an Edgeland file, and they use folders with multiple files, and it's simpler to do it this way. So I just drag my zip here, click the upload button, and hope for the best. And what this does, it starts a Fargate task, which starts up one of these Docker instances. And oops, let's see if something already started. You can see it's provisioning. So somewhere in Frankfurt, a light goes on, and a machine starts up and is doing its task. And it will also communicate to us via the log files. In this case, Amazon also has a brand name for it. I think it's Cloud Log or Cloud Watch or something. They save and provision these log files. And in the meantime, I can show you. Maybe you are looking at you're already looking at it, and you're saying, "What? I now have to zip up all my files and upload them to this web interface, and this is going to save the day." And you say, "Yeah, well, in this case, maybe not." But what works in this web interface on AWS, it's just their default front end for their API. So when you have the software developer kit from AWS, you can simply create, I mean, actually you see the same thing here. My boss really loves drag and drop interfaces, so I was forced to do this. I drag and drop it here. It says, do we want to upload it? I just do it, and what it does is it just zips up the file, does the upload in the background, and triggers another task. So that's basically what it does, and this is using the AWS Java SDK. There are SDKs for multiple languages. You can integrate this really easily into your solution. So maybe this is not just for something for end users, but also something for other software vendors who don't want to go through the painful process of writing these, reverse engineering these file formats. It's really not a nice job. It's really hard and frustrating. So maybe we can help you with that as well. And what you can already see, in this case, we were successful. We uploaded the file. It was a simple grope mixture that I uploaded, and it detected the type that it can do automatically, but it doesn't know. I have to tell it which format, in this case, the ASM format. We can actually also look at this. I press the download button here, refresh the screen. You see there's my file, and I can also prove it to you that it actually works. So open it, and there's my grope mixture in ASM format. So that's basically the idea, and that's what I wanted to show you for today. And yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Matthias.